My name's Morgan. I'm originally from Corpus Christi, Texas. My experience with adoption started a long time ago, and I didn't know it started so long ago. My grandmother was actually placed for adoption, but I didn't know about that until I was much older. Something she did never to share or talk about until I kind of forced her and asked questions. And my dad kind of shared a little bit of her story, how her mother was 16 years old, was sexually assaulted by someone in the church, that everyone kind of knew what happened, and no one said anything, especially for her birth mom. No one stood up for her. She was one of 9 kids. All of her other siblings went off to college, did other things, and her mom kind of just had this scarlet letter of she was never going to be anything or go anywhere because of what had happened. And I think my grandmother kind of carried that feeling of self-hatred and that she wasn't wanted. And I think that's hard for any young kid to go through, and especially she carried that until she passed away. Feeling of anger and just a deep feeling of not being wanted. And I just can't imagine how that would feel as a kid and then to carry that on as an adult. Her raising me kind of made my mind think a little bit. I think when she didn't know that I was watching her so intently growing up, and her feeling of not liking her features and feeling just angry about the way she looked. And I always thought oh, I look like her, so maybe I wasn't as beautiful either. Or those feelings also kind of took root in me a little bit, and I didn't know that as a kid. And then when I went through my adoption process, she never said anything to me about her adoption or anything like that. She kind of just was there to support me as best as she could be. But I knew that she kind of was holding back a little bit, and I could understand, I think, from what she'd been through, maybe she just didn't want to get too close. And I think it's a little sad to look at how adoption kind of has come full circle, with her dealing with her situation, and then obviously me going through placement of my children as well. And I just want the experience to be better for my kids and myself, and not have them carry that feeling of self-hatred, being unwanted. And I'm really adamant about talking to their adoptive families about making sure that they feel wanted and cared for and loved, and know that they were wanted kids and that their features are beautiful. And I think that's important. I think unless you've gone through adoption or placement on that end, I think you don't really understand the enormity of the decision and the trauma around it. I think you look at it and you see pictures and you're like, oh my God, it's amazing, congratulations, so great. And you kind of move on with your day. Until it affects your life, I don't think you see the ripples of it everywhere. To where for me, I think those decisions were so huge and such magnitude that it just affected everything and every relationship I had after. Also having children that I kept and play in my home after placing was hard. I think you don't realize once you've gone through an experience where you've gone to a hospital and not brought a baby home, the fear and the trauma to bring a baby home. And then the feeling of guilt for not bringing a baby home the first time was hard for me to connect with the kids I had at home fully, be in the moment, because I was really sad and felt really shameful and guilt ridden about the decision I had made before. I want agencies and counselors to be fully transparent, not give the pretty picture, not give the pretty box and it's wrapped and it's got a bow and it's wonderful and this is a wonderful thing you're doing. I want them to give the full layout of what's going to happen. This isn't a decision you're making temporary. This isn't something you can go back on and say, well, I changed my mind. Once you sign those papers, it's done. And that's a forever decision. The couple you're choosing is forever. There isn't a maybe I didn't pick the right one. No, it's done. It's final. And I think that feeling is even more right in your face once you've had the baby, that you're looking at your child, you're signing the paper. It's this is final. There is no going back. I just want everyone to be fully in the know, basically, and know when you're making the decision, it's a lot of emotion. You're dealing with many life things, but I want you to make sure that you're making the decision knowing this is a forever decision. I think that's important. I think this agency is really great with support, all in general. I think the counselor I had was really wonderful. that she was also a mom. So I think she kind of, even though she hasn't been through an adoption, I think she was great at kind of knowing how to support and kind of like get behind you. Also making you feel supported whether you parented or you decided not to. Whereas a lot of agencies will kind of be like, well, you made a decision, so you have to go with that. And you feel kind of guilted into like, okay, I guess I have to go with it still. They're really great at just being like, but make the decision that's best for you and for your child, more importantly. And I think that level of support is so needed and helpful to birth mothers. Having the option to get therapy and counseling paid for by the agency after placement is incredible. Just to have that for the women that do, do it, it's amazing just to kind of work through those feelings and be able to be fully present in life.
Will you partner with us today as we seek to raise money to support adoptive families and offset the cost of adoption? And also work with our expectant mothers both pre and post placement to provide resources and support along the way. We want to be able to minister to our families, and we need your help to do that. You could text Flourish Adoptions to 53555, or you can contact our office today to learn more on how to get involved.